And I said this thing that terrified her. I don't think people understand how good it feels to finally relent to the demon screaming at you to go get high, to finally just give in and say, fine, let's go get high. Like, how good that feels, and how awful it is when your body, especially with 7-OH and kratom and stuff, like, it's indescribably difficult to defeat. And when you finally just say, like, fine, like, we'll go, like, how good that, I said that, and she goes, I think you should go to rehab, like, today. And I was
Right.
like, okay, okay, that sounds good.
You know how like sometimes you make something happen and it feels like you're the man because you made something happen, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you can relate to this. You make something happen and then it gets undone. And rather than feeling good about the thing you've done, you feel bad about the thing you've lost.
Yeah, man, all the time.
Let's
Yeah, all the time, dude.
but we're going to put my problems aside after until later, and we'll talk about your wild and woolly ride. My friend Jed, who's been on the show since I want to say 2016 or 17.
16.
Says
16.
I remember the first email you sent in about like robbing people at a hotel you worked at.
Yeah.
And I don't remember most anything. I don't remember anything. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I remember the classic email that you should have thought of Dopey. That was a very good one. And then we became
Yep.
friends.
And we
And
became pals.
and I've chronicled the life and times of Jed Payne as best I can. And the last chapter we told was a half present and a half deep dive into the demonic past. Hold on, fuck.
Yes.
My stupid thing just went off.
Oh, I heard it.
I'm
It's
going to say
okay.
that again. The last story we told was a half present tale and a deep dive into Jed's demonic past, which was a banger of a Dopey episode. But a lot has happened
Mhm.
since, and I want you to tell your story so that the Dopey Nation hears it, because you've told it here and there, but it's more important that you tell it.
Well, and this, so I guess, uh, I didn't run this by the sponsor, but, so I'll make amends too. Yeah. Cause so that time, yeah, that was like a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was still under the influence. I was still high. And the last two times that I did the Dopey speaker night, I was still under the influence. I was still high. Now, so like I definitely, like, I was wrong for that. And so this is part of me doing what I can to make that right. So when I say under the influence, those times I do remember specifically. I think I was just on like my baclofen or Lyrica
What's
gabapentin.
baclofen?
So, have you heard of phenobute? Have I talked about that enough?
I just assume I know
Okay.
nothing.
All
I
right.
always assume I
you
know
nothing.
nothing.
So, there's a class of chemicals called gabapentinoids.
Okay, I know
Not
that.
to be confused with GABAergics, which are things like benzos and alcohol. Gabapentinoids are your GHB, gabapentin, Lyrica, phenobute, baclofen. Those are the big ones.
Is phenobute related to phenobarbital or no?
No, not
Okay.
even at all. It was a Russian chemical developed for cosmonauts to deal with anxiety. And what people found out, so it's like it's legal. It's been in this legal gray area forever. And kind of like GHB, I guess for certain people like myself, it gives like intense hypomania
for me, it was like a kind of like a ecstasy feeling. And baclofen is phenobute without a phenyl ring attached to the chemical. So it's basically it's sort of the same, sort of different, but that's the one you can get prescribed.
I think we
And
need
typically
to
people get that.
No, keep
You
going.
get prescribed that to get off of phenobute because the physical withdrawals of all those substances are horrendous. They're terrible.
What I want to do is I think what's really important is, like, you and I have spoken off the show a ton of
Mm-hmm.
times about what's up. And then you're like, I want to come on the show, but I'm not going to say this, and this, because it'll fuck me up. It'll fuck up my career. It'll fuck up my family. And I'm always like, okay, okay, okay. And then basically
You
the
know how
shit.
you did me dirty, too.
How did I do you dirty?
Do you not remember that I was like, hey, yeah, you can release that episode, just don't put anything about relapse in the title. and you put Jed relapsed, bro. I could have reached through the phone and
You should just.
slapped
I
you in
would
the
change the
face,
title. I
bro.
would change the title. I didn't. I certainly didn't
You
do it.
didn't. This is the even funnier part. Is there was an original title, and then I looked the next day, and that was the changed title.
Yeah, but you have carte blanche to have me change anything.
I
Take it
know.
down,
It
change
was
anything.
just.
Dude,
I took
fucking.
it as a gotcha. That was just funny to me. I was like, Dave,
Well,
you son of a bitch, bro.
I owe you an amend then, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. I never would do that intentionally.
I know.
Yesterday we put up a show with Aaron Carr, and Aaron just got diagnosed with cancer, with
Yes, I
lymphoma,
saw.
and I was like, all I could think to call the show was Aaron has cancer, but that didn't seem like a good title for Aaron. So I wrote her and I said, what should I call the show? And she gave me the title. So you have carte blanche as well. And I apologize because I never would do that as a gotcha. I just am
I
not that
know, dude.
creative
I
at the end
know.
of the day.
I know.
But
It was like,
I want to uncover. I want to
yeah.
uncover like what was covered and where you are now and what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. So, do you remember like when would have been the last update?
I think it was a partial update on the demonic show where I think you copped to gambling,
Right.
and that was, I think, as far as you were willing to go. I think you copped to the gambling on the phone, and
Yeah.
maybe like some other like low end chemical. But take us through, because you when we started the show, you had much more time than I
Yeah.
did, and it's been a
Yeah.
series of slips. And 100% no shame. I think it's very important though, because you've tried to not tell the whole story and kind of keep going, and it didn't work out like that.
Yeah. And I don't think I've, and it'll be, I guess, an exercise for me to try to piece it together from like the genesis. So, yeah, I got sober finally in 2014, and I started working as a counselor in training in 2017. That was at an adolescent facility. Got my okay, so then 2018. So that takes about 2 years before you get your licensure. So I do remember being 4 years sober. It's like everything had this weird confluence of time. This was right around when Chris died. So I've always been on and off antidepressants my whole life, and since I had been an adult, I'd never been sober 4 years. So I was truly like, I want to see if I even need it or if it was just drug induced stuff. Because I kind of looking back now, I think I hit a spiritual plateau and was sort of like getting restless, irritable, and discontent. And I was looking for something to change how I felt. I don't know. That might be I think it was a genuine, like, let's see. Talked to my doctor, talked to everybody, did it the right way, stepped off all my medication. And because I remember the day finding out Chris died, I went to my book study and just like probably like I was just broke down crying, like bad, kind of like a 10 out of you know, people were people were very confused about this like person that I was like breaking down over. I think it was a lot. It was super emotional. And so
Now I remember we were on the phone, and who's that other friend of yours?
Scott,
No, the other one. Uh,
Besh.
yeah, yeah. And you were telling me about you and him going over it, and I was in Washington Square Park, walking from Katz's to the train, and we were both kind of broke down, trying to piece this whole thing together. And but keep going.
Yeah, and it should have been that right there should have been an omen because
Or a,
me
or, a,
and Bet
or right, or an
yeah, or
idea.
a foretelling because me and Besh and Chris had sort of kind of joined up on the like AA bashing front, and like we were getting a little big for our britches. You know, we were just young, sober, and like we got this sort of thing, and like let's start picking things apart. And I do remember me and Besh having a talk of like, oh shit, like it's still very real. Like this is a potential consequence. But it wasn't enough, I suppose. I'd been married at this point, I think also 2 years. And I think this would have been like the same year. So then my ex-wife, my wife at the time, relapsed. I found out she had been smoking weed in secret.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a bunch of people that I'd gotten sober with that used to use. They all started smoking weed again. And so it was all of a sudden, you know, the core group that you sober up with, now it's kind of whittled down to, it was like 3 of us that were still sober and like a bunch of them. And that's kind of statistically, like not everyone's a truly alcoholic. And I think that's what happened. And so those people, you know, so now I'm just seeing all my friends kind of just, okay, they're smoking weed. They're okay. You know, and especially like my wife at the time, it's like we used to shoot dope and like she's doing this and it's fine. I was still very concerned about status and how I looked because I was doing this recovery podcast. Now I'm a counselor and like I can't have my wife being this dope smoking, you know, it's so funny, God, how perspectives change. Then I found out she started drinking, and so I remember hitting like a super, like I was okay off my antidepressants for like 6 months, and then I hit like a super, super deep depression, and I'll take out my little Zen. And I'd been researching microdosing like heavily. Me and Besh talked about it a lot, heavily, and I did all the research and like, oh no, the first thing, this is funny. The very first thing was, this is when CBD hit the scene. I don't even know if I talked to you about it, but CBD had kind of just hit the scene and like, oh, it's, you know, it's this thing. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. And that for sure, God, I can really trace it all back to that, which
This
is
is awesome. Keep
which
so
is
so
insane.
so and CBD is the other thing that comes from weed. There's
Yeah.
THC and there's
It's
CBD.
from the male plants, the male hemp plant. So it's like,
Everybody says CBD doesn't do anything though.
it's one of those, like, I don't know, placebo, maybe, sort of. I do remember Thanksgiving. I took some, and like I went to Thanksgiving at my ex's family's, and I was like, I got so paranoid. I was like, what is going on? And I went to the bathroom, and I was like, oh my God, I'm high. And I was like, wait a minute, like, and I looked at the bottle, and it was like I had gotten one that had some THC in it, like a tiny amount, but it was
Wow.
enough. And I was like, oh fuck, don't like this. So then I met a dude who made his own mushroom microdoses, and I remember the first time I took that, it was, and now I'm understanding that like a true, microdose is supposed to be imperceptible. I think these were like, I don't know, like 0.5 or like 0.15. The first time I took it, I remember I went to a park and like was one with nature, and I was like, this is great. Like the ideas are flowing, like I'm feeling good, and yeah, in retrospect, I was just high. It was just
You
a
were
mild.
tripping.
I was tripping,
But
a
yes,
mild.
I don't feel like I remember you telling me about that. And by the way, just to say this, I appreciate this recap more than you could possibly know. Like, I think it's so good for everybody. Like, because so many people like get on this slippery slope, and some things work for some people, and some things don't work for other people. And I love this deep dive into it. What was the microdosing like in the beginning? What was the CBD? You were like, oh shit, I took THC. You're like, fuck. And then were you like, was there a second where you're like, I got to start my day count over. I got to do this. I got to do that. All right. So you're like, fuck it. I'm cool.
Yep.
We're going forward. I have my podcast is happening. I'm still doing my work with other
Well,
people.
so this is interesting too. So my sponsor, and this guy had been my sponsor, and this will come into play later, but for God, like 6, 7, 8 years, a long time. His wife at the time was going through chronic pain, so he was doing everything, and she was also in recovery. So like she was smoking weed. So all of us, it was like we were in this weird exploration phase. It is funny how like groups of people in recovery, it is kind of, we'll go through these weird, but we all do it together. Another good friend, his wife had started like smoking weed, so it's like we were all kind of like trying to figure this thing out together. And probably, no, I mean definitely we were co-signing each other's stuff, but it truly wasn't with that goal in mind, or at least I was deluded.
No,
You
the
know,
goal was to live your best life and explore, like, how can I use chemicals safely and stay sober and stay helpful and be in recovery, because you love fucking altering yourself and chemistry and all these
and
things of
and at this point, the obsession was, how do I fix my depression? Excuse me. And because my main symptom of untreated depression is suicidal ideation. That's like my number one go-to. And so that was the ostensible goal, was like, how do I fix that? And so CBD was okay. Microdosing was awesome, I would say. But there was no, I tried every different protocol, the vitamin protocol, which is where you do like 5 on, 3 off. I did every other day. I tried every day. I tried once a week. I tried once a weekend. And I do remember, I set unspoken rules for myself. Like I was never going to do it at work. I always saved it for after work. But then what happened was like, I started really looking forward to getting off of work. You know what I mean? And like,
Mhm.
and I remember I was working a Saturday, and Saturday, and this is at a treatment center, and Saturdays are chill almost always. And it was like an hour before I was supposed to get off, so I was like, I'll go ahead and just take my dose. I'm about to get off, and I did, and like a massive rehab crisis unfolded,
Do you remember what the crisis was?
yeah, it was a family, because it was family day. It
Oh
was this
God.
girl, and she spazzed out on her family, so I had to take her and her family into a room and like mediate. And I was definitely one toke over the line to where I was like, this is really intense. Like, let me like I wasn't I was completely fine, like in all realistic, like, but it was the first time it was like, hey man, that should have been another, like, hey, you made this uh standard for yourself, you crossed the line, so that means then like you can't do it anymore. But it wasn't that. It was just
So how micro was the dose?
It was like 20 milligrams, so like not that micro. And these were some potent, some New Orleans lab shrooms, so they were pretty potent.
Right.
And
So you're tripping. The microdose is supposed to not even really give you a psychedelic experience. It's supposed to give you a little bit of energy. That's what I'm
right,
hearing, at least.
yeah,
And I'm dying. I'm dying to do it. But keep going. Keep
yeah.
going,
I mean,
please.
for me, it just literally, it would give you the trippy thought processes, like the empathy, kind of the creativity, some oneness, thinking about things differently, and definitely was perceptible. And then I would totally, like, especially at night, I do remember I would take 2 of them or sometimes 3 and just kind of like inching my way up, right? And I'm trying to think. So after that, I think was when I went back to my doctor and was like, all right, I guess I need to be on medicine because this is not working. I
Because
think
you're
I
still
told
feeling you're
I
feeling serious depression and
oh
ideation at
yeah.
that
Well,
point.
it was weird. I got like this crazy hypochondria, and there was a day that I gave myself the flu, like symptoms and all, and I didn't have it. And it was like I was like, okay, something's going on here. I had told my doctor about the microdosing too, and he was like super interested in it. It was like, how's that going? You know, because it's like I know what I'm talking about, so I can convince these people that everything's fine, and I have a grip on it.
Well, you also know
And
exactly, you know what they want to hear also. You know what you're talking about and you know what they want to hear. So you're like, I can serve this up proper. Where's
yeah,
your marriage at that point?
it is degrading because at this point, everything that she did, I filtered through the lens of lazy stoner. And so anything, like any little thing, if the house was dirty, it's because she smokes weed. If she didn't go to work because she smokes weed. And some of that may have been true, you know what I mean? But it was also definitely magnified. And it was a constant battle of me trying to convince myself that I was okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I was truly trying to do the right thing, like as a Christian, and like, okay, I need to like honor my wife, and like I made a vow and all this stuff, right? And it was like, look, if like my wife got cancer, I wouldn't just abandon her. So like I
Right.
can't, all these things to make it okay. Yes, so it was degrading. And also, so to make sure that I don't just like, oh, I was the best husband ever, like I the selfish piece of the disease is the primary issue, and very much my early mistakes in that relationship were kind of um I'm gonna live my life and like you're along for the ride, and I don't think I quite like I don't know if that's anyway, like that was a part of it, I'm sure. Like she was not very social, I'm incredibly social, so I'm always wanting to go do stuff with friends and trying to get her to come. So it was just some
You also
compatibility
got
stuff
married. You got
was
married
starting to show.
young out of rehab. Like it's a lot. It's a lot, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot. And that played into me not wanting to let it go, was because like we beat the odds, so to speak. Like we're the success story, and everyone kind of reinforcing that by saying like, oh, I can't, we're so proud of you, and all that egoic bullshit. So I went through a period then of literally just speed running every antidepressant, like Zoloft, Paxil, all, just trying them for like 2-3 weeks, which is a terrible. I mean, it's just like your mood is just up and down, up and down, up and down, which led to not a great relationship, because I was a pretty difficult emotional person to be around, I'm sure. And I am certain it's hard to not take that personally if your partner is like, I want to kill myself. It's like, it's not great for so she's just leaning more into her own thing and smoking weed, and I'm kind of leaning more into my own thing. And I got to a point, I don't even remember how I made this leap, but at some point I began flirting with the idea of Adderall, a stimulant. And this is also where, like, sometimes getting advice is not the thing to do, or getting advice from you just can't trust everyone.
I'm sure you sought advice from the person that would say, yeah, Adderall's a good idea. No?
I did no. So I asked, these are the people I asked. My clinical supervisor, my counseling clinical supervisor, my
Right.
doctor. I'll have to ask Besh. Maybe Besh, my sponsor, and both of my bosses, both my clinical director and my CEO. Almost across the board, the response was, yeah, if you need it, then yeah, like sometimes you have to take medicine, right?
Right.
Come to find out, like, at least two of those people were on Adderall, so it was like, oh, gotcha. And my work environment at the time was very toxic, like extremely toxic. And this is also where, once I got this job, so a big core fear of mine has been that I'm not going to be able to make a living. And I had a big complex about getting sober again at 27, starting over again, and not having, all my friends have degrees and all this stuff, and I'm just starting over. And so I finally get this counseling thing, and I'm terrified to lose it, and more so terrified to leave this job, because if I just thinking that this is the only place I could ever work as a counselor, which is so silly, but I was so terrified of it. That's like, I'm just afraid.
And I'm also sure that the clinicians, clinicians are often addicts in recovery, and you start adding chemicals, and it's like it becomes the biggest secret you've ever had, because if you tell anybody that you've added any chemical, all of a sudden you're a failure of a clinician, you're a fraud. You can't tell anybody, which creates that kind of headspace of, oh my god, I have a secret. And it really like ramps everything up, doesn't it?
It does, because my counseling philosophy, and I have learned that this is like a flawed philosophy just because it's an impossible standard, but I used to believe that I could only speak about things that I had personal experience with, that I believed in 100%, and but you just can't, I mean, whatever, people can push back on that, but that's a very high standard, okay? And that sort of sets me up to, well, you can't have any bad days. You're not equipped to help anyone unless you literally have done exactly that. So, yeah, I felt weird about it. And this is another, like, little God, like, hey, man, maybe this is not great. The first, I think it was like the third day on it, I was doing a group with these men, and one of them, and just, dude, he meant truly nothing personal, but he was like, da 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 da, I mean, for all we know, like, you taking pills. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't say that, but I was like, his point was like, it's weird I remember that. His point was like, I know myself, and you don't have to listen to everybody, da 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 da. And I was like, yeah,
Well, the
yeah.
point
I
is
mean,
we don't know what anyone is really doing, and then
right,
all this imposter syndrome is setting in at that point.
right.
Because and it's also like the door is open for what else you could potentially do.
Yes. And so this is where the dynamic between me and the ex was. She did not want me to be on Adderall. I did not want her to smoke weed. So it was kind of like, fuck
Right.
you. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you know, it was mutually assured destruction, which was terrible. Such a terrible place. So then what naturally happens, is I'm a big homeostasis guy. So I'm a little too amped. So then I'm cruising on Reddit and like, well, what can I do? And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about phenobute. Like, but I'm just gonna, I think I looked into like microdosing phenobute. I was like, I'll just take 500 milligrams, you know, just a little, just to take the edge off. And I ordered it. Once again, the wife wasn't happy about that. And I was like, that's good for you. Like, you know, I'm not happy about any of this. So sorry. and it was magical. It was like, so for me, that, I don't even know, whatever, my brain chemistry, like that chemical combination, just makes me the person that I feel like I want to be, where like I'm silver tongued and I'm like motivated and every single thing I do has meaning. Music sounds awesome. Sex is better. Everything is just better, for that day, for that like 2 days. And tolerance sets in heavy. And so I remember I like started, I just took it on Friday, and then it was like Friday, and then Saturday was like an afterglow. And then I would take it Friday and then Saturday. And so Sunday and Monday were the afterglow. And then I would take it Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I'm taking it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
And it's just pills.
It's a powder. Yeah, pills.
But you're taking it orally. You're taking it in drinks and stuff.
Yeah. Just taking it orally. And then what would happen is Tuesday and Wednesday were horrible days. I mean, those were like my rebound. You're supposed to not use it more than 2 days in a row, like once a month, you know. And so because the rebound panic and anxiety is so bad. And so then I was literally taking it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. I would just suffer and just hate my life and then start over that Thursday. And so there was a casino down the street from where I worked. And I also don't remember how I even like broached this subject. So I truly don't have a gambling issue outside of
these low-end speedball situations.
Yes, amphetamines and
Phenobutes.
and phenobutes and gabapentinoids. But when I do with those, I have a bad, because it's just so it's like, you know, it's just impulsive, reckless, feeling invincible. And man, around this time, yeah, my grandfather died, and so what I started doing was just after work, hitting the slot machines on the way home, and I would just put my headphones in and just lock in. And it's just, I mean, that's my slot machine people will know what I'm talking about, to where it's pure escapist. Like you're in a trance. I mean, just losing everything else around you, and you're getting these little spikes of like winning and losing and all that good stuff. Oop, hold on.
And that chemistry, right? That chemistry had to have been like what makes this slot machine trance so attractive, though, right?
Oh yeah. And because I had a life at the time that I hated. And I hated myself, and I, at this point, was getting harder and harder to convince myself that I was still sober, which I can't really remember what my headspace. Oh, this was it. Okay. So I hadn't gotten officially licensed yet so I was finally done with my hours to where I could test and take my license. And I was like, it was September 18th. I remember that. Oh, weird. My new sobriety date is September 19th. Ha! And my original sobriety date was September 24th. It's weird. I've had a bunch of Septembers.
That's good.
I was like, I have to keep my shit together until this. I've worked so hard. I cannot lose this. I have to keep it together until that. And I did, and I tested, and I got it, and I just kept doing what I was doing. It was always like, once I got physically dependent on something, this is where it was like, what do I do? Like, I don't know who to tell about this. I don't know how to get out of this without losing my job, without losing my parents' trust, without, it's just like, what do I do?
Do I remember a pistol and kratom then too?
It's about to come into play. So my buddy, Little Brent, he's been on here. He had come into town, and I was trying to help him get sober. And I went to pick him up one day, and he like reached in his pocket and took something. And I was like, "What is that?" He's like, "Oh, these new kratom shots." And I was like, "Which one?" And he was like, "Da da da da." And I was like, "Oh, that's a new one."
You're like, "That's
And
interesting."
Yeah, dude. It's like, oh yeah. I mean, because dude, I had a kratom issue back in like 2011 when it like kind of really first hit the smoke shop scene, and then I put it down and I forgot about it. And when he told me, I was like, oh shit, I forgot about kratom. And I went and got some, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great. I forgot. This rules for a couple days. And so now I'm on that. Now that's part of the thing. And this is when COVID first started. So this is when I lost my my support system and my accountability. So two of my good friends moved from Lafayette to Baton Rouge. Our book studies stopped meeting. Meetings were stopping. So it's just kind of me stuck at home in a failing marriage. And yeah, I had gotten a gun because the world was ending and all that good stuff. And I remember, God, I was like, it was just such a, I don't know that anybody knew what was going on. Like, so I was playing drums for my church. Like, it just got so fucking dark. And they would let me, I had keys to the church building, and I would just go practice because they had a sweet drum set up there. And it was like a Saturday night. And, dude, I remember I was like playing some worship music or something. And I mean, I'm talking the building's empty. I'm talking the ugliest screaming cry you've ever seen. Just cussing God out, like screaming at him, like fucking end this. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, why? Like on my knees, like it was like if someone would have, like, it was a scene.
Sure.
And this was just by myself. I never told him about that. Because it was just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm so stuck. I want to die. Everything is terrible. There's no, and also with that Xanax, anything of that nature, Xanax, benzos, that those also, the chances of me killing myself go up 50%. I mean, just, I don't know what about it. Impulsivity, or I don't know. It's weird.
When did benzos come into the mix?
Well, no, I was just, they hadn't come in yet, but I was just saying, actually, no, maybe.
Let me ask you real quick though, in that little run, which is like total mayhem, like, were you still going to meetings?
No, there weren't any.
No, but like
there weren't any.
Like in the,
oh,
was it like,
yes. Well, so one of the last things I did was the biggest meeting in town, I picked up my 6-year chip and spoke fucked up.
Right. On the chemo speedball that I'm imagining.
Yes. Yeah, I was on, it was one of the lesser days. Like when I say, so I'll put this out to get a better idea. Like when I say fucked up, the things that I was doing, the goal was to appear as sober as possible, to be as sharp as possible, to performance enhance. So I wasn't like
Oblivion.
It was, I'm trying to feel as euphoric as I'm trying to, yeah, I was more trying to increase the euphoria of my intolerable situation.
You're like limitless seeking. Like that kind of place where you're super functional, enhanced on every level without the fear, without the edgy thing, and like you're comfortable but you're super sharp. I listen,
yeah.
it
I
sounds
also,
good.
dude, I remembered a time too that I almost like Matthew Perry'd. I took a bunch of, so I mean all those are downers, and I took a bunch of kratom, and I passed out in the bathtub. Yeah, and I woke up like the water like woke me up like in my mouth sort of thing, and that's when I was like, oh yeah. And these are like little moments where it's like, hey dude, these are if you were talking to a client and they're telling you these things, you would say do something. So all of this hit a crescendo when one night I was just super depressed, and I wrote a note. Like I wrote out a suicide note, and I was gonna do it. And that actually, oof. Yeah, I don't know if I want to read it. But yeah, it was like, I keep it just because it's like, what the fuck?
How long was the note?
Page and a half.
And who was meant to find you? Your ex-wife?
I don't even know. I guess so.
Okay.
I got.
And did you have?
You want me to read it?
Not if you don't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like
that might be a little weird.
You can put it. You can. I mean, I'm dying to hear what it says, but you could read it to me off the show if you want.
Yeah. The gist of it was a very matter of fact. Like, I'm sorry, I tried my best, but like I can't be here anymore. Like I don't want to. It's nobody's fault but my own. I'll see y'all again. Like I just gotta go. And it was like you would understand. Yeah, it was, and so I did that.
How would you end your life if you were going to do it then?
I was going to shoot myself
with that pistol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we had spoken.
And I would do. Gosh, bro, there were lots of, trial runs, like putting it, seeing how it felt in your mouth, and like, yeah, just.
Dude, you're not the only one that's done this, and the fact that you're sitting here sober working on your shit is like evidence that somebody else doesn't have to do it. It's like not a place to look at it anyway, except for the fact that you're alive and well and taking care of your family, and like and other people can get out of, like, if somebody has a gun in their mouth right now, they know they don't have to fucking pull the trigger.
And this is what I always say is, the thing I'm most grateful for is that I was not allowed to take my life when I wanted to, because that's the Jewish philosophy that if you save one person, you save the whole universe, right? One life is the whole universe. But it's so much, and all of the everything that has happened would have just been replaced with just light generations of pain and trauma. It's just, thank God. So I didn't do it that night. And then I went into work the next day, and my admissions guy Joby was like, "How's life, dude?" And I was like, "It's yeah." I was like, "It's fucking terrible.
Right,
I want
right.
to kill myself." And he was like, "Whoa."
He's a very effective clinician, Joby.
Yeah, he was just the admissions guy,
Right.
bro. We always like used to just go in there, and we had 3D printed crossbows we would shoot at each other. So he was like, "Oh, it's another." And I was like, "I need to do something," and because I knew that, and this is another, still trying to control the outcome. I knew that my boss had also gone through and this because it's so common in the industry, like a suicidal burnout episode, and he went to this trauma treatment center that he spoke extremely highly of, and I knew that I could go there and detox kind of under the guise of this
Mental
other
health.
stuff that's going on. Yes. And so I told him, I'm certain he had to have known that I also used. Maybe not. I told him everything that was going on except for the drug part. And he was like, "All right, we're going to send you there." That's awesome. And like part of this is the place called the Bridge to Recovery, Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'll recommend that place any day of the week. Truly saved my life, I believe. But you have to be, you had to have like definitely been sober to go there. And as soon as I signed the last paper, I was like, "By the way, I'm going to detox from Kratom, just so you know." And they were like, "What?" I was like, "I'll just go through it. It's cool. I've done it before." But which was terrible, bro. That was horrible. While I was there,
How bad was kicking kratom in that spot without medicine?
oh, it was bad. I got the sense of impending doom. So like that place, it's in the middle of the mountains. There's no TV, no nicotine, no phones, no nothing. You're just there to work on your trauma. And at the time I came in, it was just me and this other guy in this like dark, quiet, cold house. It was during the winter. And I remember like day 2, like just breaking down in front of the therapist, and I was like, "I'm so scared to go back to that house and that room. I just feel so alone, and I just need to cry." It was rough. It was super rough. And then but I was also I still had baclofen that I was prescribed.
What about Adderall?
I left the Adderall there. That was part of it. So I quit. So this is, yeah. So that went really well. While I was there, I kind of had the realization that I'm actually not okay with my wife smoking weed. And I kind of called her from there to tell her as much. And she was like, "Well, that sucks. I'm still going to do it." And I was like, "Okay." And so also, while I was there, my good buddy who worked as a tech at the place I was at overdosed and died the last week I was there. So I had a ton of survivor's guilt about that, about not being there. And like I should have told, like me and him like commiserated a lot. And I always just stopped short of telling him that I was using. And I still, wish that I would have. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, maybe things could, maybe, who knows. So that was rough. So then I knew that instead of like, and she was dating one of the clinicians, so she was on leave. So now it was like, you got to get back here and like get back to work. And it was like, fuck. That was just part of the problem, was that job. And the night, so on the drive back, there was an ice storm. There was like a freak ice storm. And so there's like one bridge to get to Lafayette, and they were closing the bridge at midnight. And I was 8 hours away, and I got out at like 2. So I was like racing this ice storm. It was kind of exciting actually. But I remember doubling up my baclofen dose on the way home and got like lit up, and I'm calling all my friends and like, life is great, like this is awesome, everything's great, and da 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 da. just super hypomanic. And when I get back, my wife was just so fucked up. Like, she was just way more fucked up than usual. So I went from this, like, super emotional high to, like, getting smacked in the face with the reality of what my life was still about. And a month after that, she asked for a divorce. And so that day was when I went back to the gas station and just got back on Kratom. So that 1 second.
And you're still working at the spot, and you're on the baclofen. You were off the Kratom from the bridge, off Adderall from the bridge, but this news, you're like, fuck it. I'm just gonna get back on the Kratom.
I like literally, like, when she told me, I don't think I said anything. I just kind of got up and just left and just went to the gas station. So then I was like back on Kratom, and I was like, I knew that regardless, I can't keep being on Kratom. Like, this is just not sustainable. So that was when I went to my doctor, and I got back on Suboxone. I think it was supposed to be like, oh, we'll just do like a 7-day whatever, and that just never.
Right.
I've never. Somebody told me a long time ago, addicts can't taper. And at the time, I was just
I think it was
like,
me.
fuck. Yeah,
that's my philosophy.
That might have been you. I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck you, man. But I just can't. There's just.
I could never.
Could never. Because whenever you get to the bottom, then you're just like, my tolerance is down.
I wanted to taper so many times, and it just, at the end, I would just reset it. I could never get off of anything without going away. I just couldn't. I mean,
No,
weed, in the end, weed I could, but that's way different.
Yeah. And dude, I went to such ridiculous extreme lengths to this. Like, Church and Other Drugs people know Dirty Mike, but I took my strips, I cut them into like 8ths and 16ths and 18ths and put them in individual Ziploc bags, stashed them at Mike's house. I was like, bring me just one of these bags a day and I'm going to do it. And then eventually I was like, hey, I need my thing. He's like, oh, I'm at work. I left my key. And I just fucking couldn't. I was like, I'm just going to take them all, or I'm just going to, I'll take the bags because it's too much trouble. He's like, just hold on to the key and just do it yourself. And then it was like, well, fuck, this isn't working. I did quit my job, or I got a new job. That's when I started working at an outpatient place. Because also it was like I was so burnt out, and I had a bunch of client deaths after they left, and it was just, I couldn't do it anymore. The residential treatment grind with everything else going on, it was just too much, going through a divorce and all that. Still in COVID. I'm still not really sober again, and I still had not said that I relapsed, I don't think. Or like I just wasn't going to meetings.
You weren't public about it.
I wasn't public about it.
You didn't want to give up your clean time. You didn't want to give up your status. You didn't want to give up your work. It was like a lot of fear. And it's like one half is the real fear of losing your spot, and the other half is the fear of losing the drug,
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And so now it's like, okay, you're in this new job, you're on Suboxone. Now the obsession is, how do I get off Suboxone? What am I going to do now? And that was when I did research into the Sublocade shot, which Dopey Nation helped a ton with.
Good. Thank you, Dopey.
Yeah. Shout out Igor. Me and Igor have been talking a lot. Yeah, so I had never even heard of it. I found a place that did it in Baton Rouge. I think me and Georgia started dating. We started dating, man, like, let's see. The divorce was finalized in May. I want to say we started dating like the end of that summer.
and fully I was like, look, I'm kind of a train wreck, but I was not upfront about probably the extent of like where my sobriety status was at, and
Every
like
chemical, all the stuff.
every
'Cause
chemical.
it's so nuanced and crazy. Because it's not
Yes,
like you're
dude.
not like I'm doing
Yes.
heroin, I'm smoking weed, I'm drinking. It's like I'm taking all of these drugs that are on all of the fringes because you knew exactly what people wouldn't understand and what was a rationalization enough for you to be like, it's not a full-blown relapse.
Yeah.
Even though everything about it created
Yeah.
total
Yeah.
relapse.
Everything about it.
But that's where
And
you're like the classic
ugh.
too smart for his own good addict.
Oh, me and Chris were kindred fucking spirits in that
For
way.
sure. For sure.
And it really and that I do remember I do remember it was like before I went to no, this is not yet. But yeah, it also was like I don't even know how to explain. It's like, dude, how much time you got? Like to like can you read this PowerPoint? You know, when people would say like, you know, what it's so hard to explain without giving
No,
you
but
a
that was you.
freaking
But that was you protecting the fucking addict.
yeah.
That was like
Yeah.
making it more complicated than I'm doing all these drugs.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I could have just said like I'm not sober.
Right.
I'm not sober.
But there's pride and ego also, and there's
Mhm.
but I think more than pride and ego is the fear of giving up everything, because not only are you giving up the drugs, but you're also giving up your place. You're copping to this reality, to all these people that believed in you in all these different walks of life. If it's your parents, if it's Georgia, if it's the church and other drugs congregation, if it's the people at work, if it's your friends, if it's the book study people, if it's the church, there's a lot of people that you have stock in that you don't really want to be like, I fucked everything up. You don't want to do that.
Yes, because it was also because the Jed that like robbed people at a hotel and was like shooting coke is so far removed from even that Jed. And
Right.
I was so terrified of being perceived in that way again. And especially with my parents, and especially because it's like, dude, I wasn't like allowed on their property. And so it's like I had worked so hard to get that back that yeah, it was I was willing to do a lot of rationalization to not have to say that. So this is another omen, whatever you want to say. So my mom had gotten me a medallion of my sobriety date, 9/23/14, and I kept it on my keychain. And it was like 2 weeks after I had started the kratom. I like looked at my key ring and it had fallen off, and I lost it. I ended up finding it like a month later, but I remember in that moment being like, wow, that's a little on the nose, you know, like, geez, bro.
For sure. For sure. But the other thing that I think is interesting is it's like you're still young at that. You're still young now from where I'm sitting, and you were still young at that point. And if you had worked your way out of this other iteration of like death defying heroin, coke, IV, fucking robberies, total violation of everything, and you had built this thing back, and you're like, I just want to find a softer way where I can prove that I can run this thing a little bit
softer, yeah.
without having without also causing anybody trouble, like without scaring them with, you know what I mean? It's like it's
Ooh, yeah, I realized, and this is like a recent realization of like that I lie and deceive as a form of what I believe is a form of like protection of others. And I did this with Georgia. That was a huge, that I understand now is a huge violation of trust. And I've also come to understand that it's like a form of like whatever, aggression, or like domestic aggression or something, where
getting people in her life to secret keep for me, on the idea that this is protecting my family. Like, I need to handle my stuff. And it's like, of course I realize that now, but in the moment I'm truly thinking like, I can't burden other people, so I'm going to tell you to don't tell anyone. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like
Yeah,
it's
and
because
it
it's like once it all comes out, it's like then what? It's like do I lose my whole family?
yeah,
Like and do
yes.
I have to give up everything and I don't want to start over and I don't really want to like it's heavy duty. So you meet Georgia, you're on the Sublocade, you're on the Kratom. What
Not
do you
on
tell her?
kratom.
Okay, you're not on the
Right,
Kratom.
right. No, I was on baclofen and
Right,
Sublocade.
Sublocade. And so what you tell her you're on the shot or you don't tell her you're on the shot?
I tell her I'm on the shot. Cause I remember it for like with the shot for the first 3 days, I was like blissfully high. It was like that opiate high you've been wanting. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is great. And then it just like, which I will also say, if you're trying to get off the strips and you are stuck, absolutely, the shot's probably the best thing they've ever done. I'll leave it at that. However, someone like me who overly obsesses about their mood and symptoms and thinking about chemicals in their body, I became like acutely aware of like I mean, it's just like being on any long-term maintenance opioid, your life kind of sucks. Like, it's okay, but like your highs aren't high, your lows aren't really low, you're just kind of like chilling. And then the baclofen, I could sort of play with the dose, so some days would be better than others. And so now I'm just in this like really shitty nexus of like, I'm not high enough to get benefits from drugs. I'm not sober enough to get benefits of recovery. And I'm not going to meetings because I can't, air quotes, be honest about where I'm at in my recovery. So it's just, once again, I'm just in a new prison. It just kind of switched.
Total no man's land.
Total no man's land. And so this is also when it's like I started doing like tianeptine. That was another smoke shop thing. That was another my stupidity sometimes even astounds me to where like I will go on Reddit and you see 10,000 people saying don't do it. It's horrible. And I'm like, well, let's see
how horrible.
Let's
I've done
see
horrible.
how horrible. And yes, they're right. It's horrible. It's so
What's
horrible.
tianeptine? What is tianeptine?
It's a French drug in France, it's prescribed called Stablon. So it's like this weird tricyclic antidepressant that they found out.
This is what we talked about. I feel like this is the one we talked about. And I think a lot of people wrote in about it. People were very interested in this chemical.
Oh yeah, it got banned in Louisiana finally. It's gnarly. This is the thing with these like modern synthetic smoke shop drugs is that they are the fucking side effects, withdrawals, and like dude, they are brutal. Like if they were a country, they would be Russia. Like they are brutal as far as like they're just ugh. And they're also like it's no longer like it ain't no bullshit. Like these are like just way too powerful and way too terrible. It's just so not worth it. And they're insanely expensive. So this, just racking up credit card debt again on freaking smoke shop drugs. And
how expensive were they?
Oh, a bottle was $30 and I would need 4 or 5 bottles a day.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like $150, $200 a day, which is fucking crazy, dude. If I had $200 a day just given, like, I hate it, dude. And so this was when, so it was like more of the same to where like I would,
confess to Georgia after like either getting caught or, like I'm just lying. I'm trying, but it's like hard. And it's like, this is all a just continuation of that of fucking taking CBD. This is still, so now we're 3 years into it and it's just switched to this new thing. Right. And so during this time too, I did, I started like doing like heroic dose mushroom trips, which was like great. And I would have these like epiphanies and then, whatever. And then it's just like biding my time until I can do it again.
What was up with the podcast then?
Dude, so this is the only time, and I tried to find it. I can't even find it, and I can't even remember the dude's name. So like my main 3 dudes, I would usually, I think at this point, like my main people knew, yeah, they knew about that.
But are you putting it out every week?
No.
Okay.
This was probably like the lowest point of the podcast as far as like, and I don't even know. It's like I've tried, like, it's funny. I go back and listen to try to see like when I can tell, like people with the Chris thing, they're like, oh, I can tell now. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I try to go back and sometimes yes, sometimes no. Cause like I said, like it was all, I do for sure. My attitude was just getting worse and worse as far as like just more being cynical. There's no more, I'm like getting less about recovery and less, it was more just talking about like, it just wasn't good. I certainly, as far as the podcast was concerned, everybody thought I had just been sober the whole time.
Right.
Cause that's a very weird, there's definitely no manual for that as far as like, whoa, it's like this weird thing of like, do I owe my people, you know what I mean? Like, do I owe my listeners?
It's the same thing though. It's exactly the same thing as everything else. If you had copped to it, you would have had to have totally changed your life,
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm not ready to totally change my life. And if you had copped to it in one place, you would probably have copped to it in all the places. And it would have been a full stop, been like, this is it,
Yeah. Which is
that.
so, and this is where it's like the addiction is really, because there's certainly, when you say like protecting the addiction, it very much at most of the times is like an unconscious thing. Like it's like hook me up to a lie detector test and I would pass. It's like I didn't want to do it, but the fear. I mean, it was all fear. So
Fear's
this is when
it's so
fear
crazy.
is so crazy.
Yes.
I mean,
Because it pulses through all of us. Even like fear is like, I'm in fear and recovery all the time. It's the big enemy, resentment and fear. And I know you don't want. I mean, it's also like if you admit that you're protecting the addiction, you need to give it up. You know what I mean? So that's buried deepest.
Oh, that was it. That's what I was gonna say too. And I truly, at this point, I think I lost the confidence that sober life was fulfilling. I at this point, I was so far removed from recovery that I lost all faith in it, and I forgot that I liked my life. And I convinced myself that I hated it, and I convinced myself that it was a cult,
bullshit.
and it was bullshit. All of it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Finding and so then it truly was. Well, so then what the fuck? Do I just do this? Do I just like figure out? And that's I guess what I did. Like, do I just figure out my own medication assisted treatment? And just rock on with that? But that was so. And I would try to convey it to people of just, which I'm sure was so confusing to everyone around me as to why I was always just kind of like hating all of this. And it's like, what's going on? It's like, well, I'm just like sort of taking these things, and they're like, well, I mean, like, does it help? And I'm like, I mean, sort of, but I want to get off of it. And they're like, well, why do you want to get off of it if it helps? And I'm like, well, because the truth was, I'm fucking using. That's it. You know, I'm using drugs. I need help. I don't know how to stop them. Or,
But you weren't ready to say that.
no,
You couldn't say those words. But those
no.
were the like it's like those are the magic words for anybody who is like kind of on that downhill slide, and especially the clinician, and especially the person who has a recovery community or in pseudo long-term recovery without going to meetings, and they're doing these weird rationalization relapse exercises. That those are the words that save your life. I'm using
Yep.
and I need help. I mean, that's it.
Yep. That's it. And anything beyond that, yeah, is like I said, just super, because people are like, and I did. So this is where I appreciate, I'll call them the gray Jedis, where I had some people in my life that um, met me where I was at with love and compassion. And basically, those people probably kept me on earth, and just saying, like, look, like, just hold on. Basically, like, if that's what you got to do right now, then just do that. You know, if you have to bring kratom so that you don't detox while you're at your parents' house and ruin a holiday, then that's just what you have to do right now. It's not worth, you know what I mean? And that's what I needed at that time, because nobody was crucifying me like I was at that time, and just catastrophizing. And so
And that's the biggest enemy, the fear, the self-hatred. It's like those are the things that are the hardest things to escape. When does Georgia get pregnant in all this?
so I went to, me and John, the former co-host, we
Founder.
had we had a trip planned, to a bros trip planned to Mexico, and he didn't know I was using, and so that was my plan, was to go to Mexico. I had gotten back on tianeptine, and that was my plan, to go to Mexico and detox.
Did you
Which,
tell John? You didn't tell John that
no,
plan though. Yeah.
well, because
It's gonna be a great
we had
trip,
gone,
man. It's gonna be really fun.
dude, we had we had gone to Miami, like, right after I got divorced, and when I showed up, I was like, yo, bro, I got to tell you, like, I'm about to detox on kratom. And, like, dude, he was so fucking mad, rightly so. He was, like, so mad, like, what
I
the,
remember that
like,
one.
yeah. And so once again, I'm like, well, I can't tell him, da 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 da. And day one, dude, we, like, hiked 17 miles. We went in July, August, so it was so fucking hot, dude, and we marched through the jungle. And I was like, this is not gonna work. And I thought at least that they would have, like, tramadol and Ambien at the pharmacias, and that was what I got day one, was some Ambien and tramadol. And I was like, yeah, this is all right. And then I went back, and they're like, you want to see the menu? And I was like, yeah.
Yes.
And they had
Mexico.
yeah,
Come on,
that's where I
drugs in
saw,
Mexico. Let's see the fucking menu.
bro, dude. And that's
So
where I
what's on the
saw
menu?
everything: Adderall, Ritalin, oxycodone, methadone.
God bless Mexico.
I mean, it was like, I
Viva
know.
la Mexico. Viva Mexico.
I straight up was like, I can hand you this piece of plastic and you will hand me oxycodone, like, no shit. And of course, I was like, I did my research before I went, and all of it was like, be careful of fentanyl, and all that went out the fucking window. I was just like, oh, and I had to, like, get on the phone with my bank to make sure it wasn't it took some work, and it was so obscenely expensive for not much. Yeah, so I got a bunch of oxycodone, and that, ironically, was finally when I was like, well, this you can no longer deny. Like, you have used
This is a real relapse.
This is a real relapse, capital R relapse.
You've been relapsing for like 5 years, and you're like, but this
I know.
one,
And
this one is the real thing.
one
Yeah, I love
this
this.
is the real McCoy. And I called Georgia and told her. She was super mad, and she called me the next day and told me that she was pregnant. And that's when I was like, oh, yeah. I found out in Mexico, in a hotel room in Guadalajara, on Oxy. I remember that. I just sat there, and John was like, "You good?" And I was like, I don't know. So I got back, and that was when it's like, okay, I got to do something. I got to go to treatment. And once again, I was like, but I'm not going local. I don't want anyone to know. I'm going to go out of town. I'm going to pick where I'm going, all that jazz. And then that was when the day I checked in, while I was in intake, she texted me and said that she had a miscarriage. So that was another like I was so I was so broken with that, like, and I had to just immediately go into group, and they're like, "You want to tell us a little about yourself?" And I was so confused and shattered and like, what the fuck?
Yeah, total emotional bankruptcy.
Total emotional
Spiritual
bankruptcy. Yeah, just like devastated. And not being able to be there for Georgia. I mean, it was just horrific things. I mean, just a terrible.
This is a very comprehensive confession, by the way, and I have to say again, I really appreciate it. This is a lot of juice, serious
I
fucking dopey
know.
business right here. And I listen, it's better. I mean, I don't know if this is good for you. I hope it's good for you. It's definitely going to be good for somebody, and frankly, it's very good for the show. So I really appreciate you for
Yeah.
that. And I say it's good for the show because it's a real thing. Like it's a real epic story. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I remember after doing uh Janine's, it was I still have that, like, oh fuck, do I need to be saying this? But I've just old friends have hit me up and just been like, I didn't know. It's helped. So I'm glad. I'm always glad to give of myself if it's gonna help, and it seems to be. I haven't really gotten screwed over from just being honest. That's ironic. I'm such a liar when I'm using drugs. So yeah, trying to be honest, but thank you. So that was, and I remember my counselor, and so that was the first time I was in like residential treatment as a clinician, and I was in there with like people that I used to counsel. Okay, and it was like, that was so humbling. I mean, necessary, but so humbling, because they were like, do you work here now? And I was like, brother, I live here now.
Right.
Like,
But that's fucking that's just the way it is. It's like sponsors are not anybody but us. Clinicians who are us are nobody but us. And it's like that's why program is more than a job or a podcast or whatever. Right? It's like it's so many people that work in a spot, they think that's their program. And that usually is a big piece of what fails them, I think.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's the joke is like, when you start working in treatment, you stop going to meetings, and that was true in my case, and it was. I've have friends and peers that do that now, and I definitely, that's like my word of caution to them, is not to do that. And so my therapist was like, "Are you at this point?" She was like, "Are you going to report yourself like to your board?" And I was like, "Nope, I am not going to do that. And thank you very much. You're not going to tell me to do that." That one I was completely unwilling to budge on. And this is where the part was like slightly hazy. So, but things were. That was a great experience. I got sober again. But when I got back to my city, once again, it was like, I don't know if it was, I did not have a spiritual awakening. I did not lose the obsession to use. I was extremely depressed. I was still very selfish. I was not going to meetings, and pretty much the only thing I was doing was going to the same book study that we had been going to for years. And at this point,
my sponsor had started going through some marital stuff, and um our book study kind of morphed into just like a bitching session. Like, it just wasn't healthy. And the doctor that the treatment center had set me up with, I got a new psychiatrist and all that, which I always do. He ran a ketamine clinic. And
Fortuitously.
fortuitously, right?
Yeah.
And God, man. So I did, I guess I was like, I don't know, 4 months sober, something like that. I got I got suicidal again. I was depressed again. And like, looking back, I wasn't doing anything. Like, I had just removed the drugs. I was probably still kind of withdrawing from the Sublocade.
Definitely.
I wasn't in a good spot. And
You were
so
you were new without program, without medicine, like in doubt, in fear. It's like that's how it is.
yeah. And my best thinking was, yeah, I need to do ketamine to treat my depression, and this it's the cutting edge. And I will always remember this too. I texted my sponsor. I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this." I didn't say thinking. I said, "I'm doing this." And his one sentence response was, "What the fuck?" Period. And I was like, "No, dude, it's cool. Like, it's da 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 da." And I went in for my first ketamine session and tripped my ever-loving balls off. Wiped away my suicidal ideation.
Did you go? You how does it work? You go there and they give it
So
to
I
you?
did. Yeah, I did the nasal. Because well, number one, I can't. My veins are so done. I can't do that anymore. And number two, the insurance covers the spray. I wasn't expecting much.
Tell me everything. So you go to the clinic and they give you a fucking nasal spray and do they put music on? Do they dim the lights?
So you're in a room. They had zero gravity recliners and they had weighted blankets. And they turn all the lights out. I brought my own music. I was listening to a lot of M83, if you know that band.
No, but what do I know? I'm listening to
So
Ray Charles
they just
over here. What do I know?
they give you the nasal spray, 84 milligrams, and so my first drug of choice was cough medicine, DXM. And so, like, DXM, PCP, and ketamine are all dissociative anesthetics, right? So I'm very intimately familiar with the psychedelic space that brings you to. And I was very shocked. I just went to, I would always go to like the creation space, like the creation of the universe space, like this gray and black liminal space, like basically the K-hole. But I was able to interact with it. The first, I don't know, 3 months were extremely positive, and I was very much like, this is an incredible medicine.
What about though? Because I've always had questions about it. Because like obviously when you're on it, you get high and you don't worry about anything, and you feel better. But like I don't imagine what's the impact when you're not on the zero gravity recliner with weighted blanket and M83 in your headphones.
Right. So the science behind it is that it stimulates neurogenesis with no tolerance to that effect. So every time it's a NMDA antagonist. So it's basically like doing repair in your glutamate system. So a lot of like scientific theory about mental health, especially like anxiety and depression and trauma, is either like too much glutamate. That's like where a lot of anxiety and stuff from
like a rebound from like an alcohol binge. They call it like a glutamate storm, where basically it's like this excitatory neuron is just like going out of control, and so like that's where seizures and anxiety and panic and doom and stuff come from. So once again, ostensibly, it's just doing months of brain repair in a concentrated period of time.
So it's working. It's working.
It's working.
And you're getting wasted.
And you're getting blown. I mean, dude, the first day when I came down, and it's like it lasts an hour, and then the next hour you just come back to reality,
and then it's done.
And then it's done, and then you go home. And I told the lady, I was like, "This is the most significant experience I've ever had at a doctor's office on a Tuesday morning." I was literally like, "Are you fucking serious right now? That this just."
But then it's like, "Can I get some take homes, please?"
Yeah, bro. Well, no, more so it was like you're only supposed to do it. I think the initial protocol is like 4 months. It's like, yeah, and I did it for 2 years. I was like, this is fucking fantastic. Let's just keep going. Let's see where we can take this baby, dude.
Right.
Yeah, and so I did that, and I'm like, and then Georgia got, I had planned to propose April 1st.
And she never questioned the ketamine treatment.
She questioned it. She did. She had appropriate apprehension to it. But then it was like, I guess she saw the results. I don't know. No, she questioned it.
You were getting through it though, so you were planning on proposing. You're on the ketamine. Are you on anything else, the baclofen or any of that stuff at that point?
I can't remember. I don't remember. I might have. That one's fuzzy for me. I might or might not have been.
And how do you find out? How do you find out she's pregnant again?
She sits me down and tells me, and it was like a month before I was gonna propose, and I panicked at first, and then was like, okay, well, let's do this. Like, let's do #dad life stuff. And so I remember I was quote 11 months sober, and she was 8 months pregnant, and I relapsed again the day after my birthday. I just went to the store and bought a kratom shot. And I don't remember why. There was no mental defense against the first drink. None.
But you were not in meetings.
I was not.
You were just in ketamine world.
I was just in ketamine. And then started and I think I talked about this already, but that was when I put myself through precipitated withdrawal with naltrexone. I did that 3 fucking times, dude. That was so.
How did you explain that?
So I couldn't. So I relapsed on kratom, and I was like, dude, I got a baby coming. I can't do this. I need to get on Vivitrol.
Right.
And I couldn't get on Vivitrol because I couldn't stop doing kratom. And I got some naltrexone pills from a friend, and I was like, I think I'll be fine. And I just took a quarter of it.
And the kratom put you into the precipitated withdrawal.
I was on tianeptine and kratom.
Right. We did talk about that. Yes.
Yep. Drove myself to the hospital.
Listen, I think it's very important to get the full on, because now we're getting the other little appearances in the middle, and we can make sense of the whole comprehensive kind of thing.
So that was devastating for 2 reasons. So on my front, that was the single most excruciating thing that I've ever been through, I think.
That precipitated withdrawal.
Yeah. I drove myself to I just ran out of the house and told Georgia that I was feeling sick. Drove myself to the hospital, and then like forgot where I was. A cop in the parking lot helped me inside, and then I woke up in their psych unit like 8 hours later. And so that's on my end. On George's end, I basically just disappeared, which was extremely traumatic for her.
Fugue state. Walter White fugue state moment.
Yes. And so I'm still working through some of that stuff with her, where like I like she was, thought I was dead, didn't know what, and she's, that horrible, just a horrible thing.
How long had you gone missing?
Man, I think it was this was like earlier in the morning, and it's early evening, late afternoon. I mean, and I don't even know. I guess people, so when I came to, they're like, "Hey, your uncle's here to see you," and I was like, "What?" And it was my sponsor. So I guess they figured out where I was, and
she was pregnant at that point.
Mm-hmm. So,
and Jed, just so we're clear, that when we had a baby, my wife found me with a needle in my lap and like left me. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not sitting here like with butter that doesn't melt in my mouth. It's like these things. It's like this is how we get to a better place, I think. I know for me it was, and I was much older than you are when I got sober also. So I mean, I don't want you to think, or the audience to think for a second, that there's any judgment or anything on your story.
Yeah, no. And I appreciate your, like, that always helps me too. That perspective is always super necessary. So I got out of that, and then I used, because then it was like, oh, well, now my receptors are squeaky clean. So I relapsed again. And that was when I went to my doctor, and I was like, you just gotta give me 12 milligrams of Valium, give me the shot, and I'm just gonna go home and deal with it. And that time I at least told, George, I was like prepared. That was terrible. That actually was probably worse than the naltrexone. Oh my God. It's just so, anybody that's been through precipitated withdrawals, I mean, the government literally at one point was looking into it for enhanced interrogation. Like they would inject people with torture. Yeah, because it literally, I mean, it is fucking traumatizing. I mean, just you go through stretching and yawning so hard I thought I was going to dislocate my jaw or like tear a bicep, and into guts ripping out, abdominal pain, like can't move, and then the impending doom, then the just crying, the unbelievable emotional upheaval. I mean, it was like a complete death, and then you wake up and like it's just over. And then 2 weeks after that, or 2 or 3 weeks after that, 4 weeks, my daughter was born, which was like the greatest. So it was like the worst thing to ever happen, and then the greatest thing to ever like just that dichotomy will probably always stick with me. Of just, I mean, the death and the birth is what I always think back to, of just like such an intense emotional period to go through. So what had also happened at some point during I had found another Indian pharmacy, and I had found where they sold baclofen, but it's like a 12-week shipping window, and I had bought some.
An Indian pharmacy in India.
Correct.
Yeah,
Indian pharmacy,
not a
Louisiana,
Indiana.
No.
Yes.
No, a straight Indian pharmacy out of Bangladesh or some shit. I had ordered some and pretty much forgot about it, and it showed up, and I was like, oh shit, and took it and was fantastic. And so, and this is, I don't know. This is one of those, who knows? Sometimes things take what they take. I don't know. That chemical at that time in my life was incredibly useful and allowed me to show up and be present and handle everything that I could. You know, I'll just kind of leave it at that. Like, not trying to, whatever. This was, I was extremely regimented about the dose, and I was using it. I basically just re-prescribed it to myself. Like, I'll put it that way. And it was just working as an antidepressant, as an anti-anxiety, as energy, as positive mood booster. And it was like a 3-month honeymoon.
Did you tell
phase.
Georgia or anybody or no?
I told Georgia maybe like after a month.
This is
but once
working for
again,
me. Yeah.
yeah. But once again, I didn't explain it fully, and I think I remember her asking if it made me feel good, and I think I downplayed that.
Made it more like a medicinal
I did.
thing.
Made it more medicinal. Once again, as a protective thing. And I felt weird about it, but obviously not weird enough that I was going to do anything about it. And because it just I kept waiting for the honeymoon phase to wear off, and it just wasn't. I was like, damn, okay, maybe this is just like rock and roll. This is how it's going to go. I can just take this and I'm good. And then the day came when it did. Tolerance set in like it always does. And I went back to the Indian pharmacy, and I was like, oh, they have Lyrica. That was another one I forgot about. Or no, I think I did gabapentin first, and then it was like, oh yeah, Lyrica. And this was a new, like, okay, we're back. We're back, baby. The honeymoon phase is back. And so then I'm just on baclofen, Lyrica, and that led to, so this is all going to be like over the span of about a year and a half. So I mean, things were good and stable and like relatively steady. I started going to therapy again, and this was like the point at which I was like, look, this is again where I knew that I was trapped. I knew I was stuck in a snare because most of my mental energy during the day was focused around how am I eventually going to get off of this stuff?
Of course.
Because, yeah, I mean, obsessed and like worried about it. And especially after, I think through therapy, I've realized that I have like withdrawal trauma, and I'm like, and it's not, I'm sorry it ain't like, I've been through some shit. Like, it fucking is a terrifying prospect.
I think I had withdrawal trauma. I wouldn't give up smoking because of it. I was sure that I was going to go into some kind of serious withdrawal from not smoking cigarettes. Like, it was like this real fear that I had around it. I'm sure that's true. But you're also like carrying a shit ton of weight. You have a baby. You have these substances that you're prescribing yourself to get through the day, and you have the classic, basically belly full of beer and head full of AA. You're like, I know this is not going to play out. It can't.
Yep. And so that was where my therapist at the time was basically like, you've got to just put that on a shelf. If you're not going to do anything about it, then you got to put it on a shelf until you're going to do something about it.
Put your head down and fucking work. Put your head down and live your life.
Basically.
You can't be in both things at once.
Right. Which worked for a little bit, sort of. And this is where, like, I remember going on a book study retreat, and we split up, and we're doing fourth and fifth steps in groups of 3, and it was like Dirty Mike and my boy Kipper, and I told him, I was like, I'm taking this stuff, And once again, because they didn't really understand, they're like, well, is your life okay? You know, are you, you know, and I was like, I knew the answer deep down was fucking no. But the words that would come out of my mouth were like, okay, because I didn't know what to do. Yeah, or I knew what to do, and I knew what historically it was gonna take, which was like getting separated again, and I was not even close to ready for that. Because now, if I thought I was worried before and afraid, now, oh, if I'm the sole provider and I have a family and I can't stress her out. So that was where like I, would
It's
only
complicated.
tell
It's complicated, but
fuck.
it's also super simple because it's like
Yeah.
you're protecting the using. You're not ready to give it up, and your friends are co-signing because what the fuck can they say? I mean, like, how many
Yeah.
times can you
Yeah.
go off on this other thing and they're gonna be like, all right, Jed, that's on you, man, and you're like, I know, and like that's
Yeah.
kind of just like how it goes.
Well, in this was like the period also where wasn't telling anyone, I wasn't asking anyone because I didn't want your opinion on the matter. Like I wasn't interested. I really wasn't. I was just like, this is what I'm doing.
I'm doing this. This is the
I'm
thing.
doing this.
Yeah.
Yep. And so then I found, then it just became like, then I found modafinil. So this was like where I'm like, okay, now we're inching our way back towards stimulants. And modafinil led to, and so it almost got me there back to that like Adderall phenobute place, but not quite. And then it was like, well, I guess and I think I started doing some THC, started doing edibles, like at very minor doses. I was pretty regimented, relatively, with some lapses here or there about like what I was doing on the daily. Like I would keep like fastidious logs because I was like, anticipating the day I was going to have to taper and all that stuff. And so then the day came where it was like, well, we're just going to get some Adderall from the doctor. Got that. And then this is where it's also kind of hazy. I just vaguely remember that like, oh, like the new marketplace for drugs is all on like the messaging apps like Telegram and Signal and Potato and all these things.
Potato. What's
Potato. It's just another end-to-end encrypted messaging app. Oh, bro.
I don't know anything, but keep going.
Yeah. I'm certainly not going to do a tutorial, but I was somehow, so I was like, I think he started me on like 10 milligrams of Adderall, and I was like, well, this is bullshit. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I can just buy some off the internet. And sure enough, just with a little bit of legwork, I found this dude that had like a menu. I was like, wow, this is, okay. And so the
Like,
lyric,
I forgot I could actually buy drugs if I want to. I forgot drugs are available to purchase.
I did, but I was still like, oh, I'm prescribed
Medicated.
it.
Yeah.
So I'm just upping my dose because 10 milligrams ain't nothing, bro. And so I ordered some and they came and I was like, well, they look exactly like it. But this is not Adderall. Like this is a pressed pill because I like figured out by how much I paid for it, like that this is not. I also found out that like real pharmaceuticals these days fetch a pretty high premium. It's a very weird drug landscape right now. And so the dude was like, oh, they're amphetamine paste, because he had two different kinds. Like one of them just explicitly said this is pressed methamphetamine, and the other were amphetamine paste. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like that's okay, cool.
I'll take
it's
the
not
amphetamine paste.
I'll take the amphetamine paste ones, please. And then it wasn't long after that I was like, I'll take the meth ones, and that was those. So then I'm taking just 500 milligrams of oral methamphetamine a day, and this is where everything just really starts to just go completely off the rails.
And is
Where
that like basically like the old school truckers speed, like,
no, they were pressed Adderalls.
but like when the
Like
old truckers took pills like Black Beauties or whatever, wasn't that probably just like methamphetamine in pill form or
those
no?
were Benzedrine
Those are
bennies and Black
Benzedrine.
Beauties.
So
Yeah, those were
so
just
meth is just this is real fucking meth that you're taking orally.
right.
Has that ever, like, where else has meth ever been taken orally?
They prescribe it, Disoxin.
For what?
I've taken it. It's kind of underwhelming. They prescribe it for. It used to be like ADD and narcolepsy.
So meth versus Adderall orally. What's the difference?
Adderall to me is just the shittiest. So I also manipulated my doctor into giving me pure dextroamphetamine because Adderall is a mixture of D and L amphetamine salts.
Your doctor is the worst.
L is the shitty physical
The
side
loser
effects one.
speed. Yes.
Yeah, bro. L amphetamine is whack as hell. D amphetamine is the good stuff. So I just got the pure dextro. So then I was taking 90 milligrams of dextroamphetamine plus 500 milligrams of methamphetamine. And this was where, and then so like which always happens with fucking amphetamines. My productivity went through the roof, bro. I started like painting again. I was like painting enough to make money, like selling art, working, coming up with all these new things, just fucking boom, gacked out. But not enough that people assumed that I was like tripped out. People started to, I'm sure people started to figure out that I was different. But I could excuse it as like, oh, I just took too, on the podcast especially, I would tell them like, oh, I took too much pre-workout or whatever. Insert excuse here. And so this is where, and so I thought about this at a meeting the other day, how all addicts really wanted, or me, was like connection to other people. And so wherever I go, it's like I've always been friends, or like I find dealers that like I form relationships with. And so like now I'm forming this like genuine relationship with this fucking absolute train wreck of a human being that is selling these drugs, because he's like, turns out he used to be in recovery. It's just like, so now I'm pals with this fucking anonymous guy has this. So then also what had happened was like my family would go to sleep at like 8, and then I would just go into my office
And bug out.
and bug out and like go into this digital drug dealing world. And I figured out that, oh, well, I can just drop ship. I can just middleman drugs without ever touching any of them, because like this guy's got them for this. And I realized that it was scratching the addict excitement itch of like that world. Like, and I guess it was
Really being being in it in every capacity.
Yeah. And it's such a sick thing to say. And fellow addicts will understand.
I get it completely.
Because it's not, and the ones, I guess the ones that my family and friends that will listen to it, it's like, it is not that I get off on being deceptive. It's not that. Like, I don't set out to hurt the ones that I love and to lie to them, okay? But this is just, I guess, this is how my disease progressed to where I've got this secret thing now. I've got this escape at night. I was starting to really hate my job, and like, a lot of my life I had began to get dissatisfied with, and this was an escape from that. And then it just started to get out of hand by like, because then I would like order, then I got into like research chemical benzos like bromazepam, and then I just started doing shit that I truly like in blackouts that I like. So that was really, and I remember telling you about the Adderall while I was at school. I remember having a conversation with you right outside of Girard Hall, and you were like, "This is a grave mistake. Like, I think you're making a huge mistake." And I remember just being like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you. This is what I'm doing." I mean, you shot it straight. And this was around when when I started to get noticeably sloppier, because the meth turns on you fairly quickly, to where then you're just doing very tweaky, twitchy things. And
But you're
an
also on
episode
these
with her,
crazy research chemical benzos, which are not sloppy.
right,
You know what I mean? Because you want
right,
homeostasis. Like, so do I. Like, I can't survive in that just stimulant situation. So you're seeking the homeostasis, and once you find it, it's very hard to actually have homeostasis when you're doing that level of stimulant, and then you need to counteract it. So sloppiness has to
yeah,
happen.
yeah. And that was when and so I'm still working. I mean, that's so I'm in school. I'm in school full time. I'm working full time. God, it's like, and trying to make sure that I'm not like twisted off at work to like any noticeable degree. Oh yeah, so I found this is like a list of what I was taking every day. You ready for the list with dosages? 60 to 90 milligrams of dextroamphetamine, 30 milligrams of Adderall, of the amphetamine paste Adderall, 500 milligrams of meth, 75 to 100 milligrams of baclofen, 375 to 450 milligrams of Lyrica, 50 milligrams of Prestige, 300 milligrams of Wellbutrin, 0.25 Xanax, bromazepam. I would shave off little pieces. Suboxone, I was taking every now and then. Do like 4 or 5 days at a time. Like 1 or 2 milligrams of edibles. And then at night, I would do 1,400 milligrams of Soma, 15 milligrams of ketamine, and NyQuil. And then I got back on Sublocade shots every fucking day. Like, that was my...
Well, you got back on the Sublocade shots to get off of that menu. How long did that? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I think
crazy.
I also just... Yeah, bro. That was every day for about 6 months, I want to say. 5 or 6 months. Like, insane. I mean,
And does anyone know anything?
The full extent, nobody knew.
I feel like with us, you told
Except
me.
for it. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I feel like with us, you were like, I think I'm gonna take Adderall, and I was like, don't do it. Then I don't hear from you, and then you're like, dude, I need to go to treatment. Like, it's 7 months later. But
Yeah.
what? So tell me about that time period. You have the baby, right?
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, it was just like keeping dialing myself in during the day, and then at night, I mean, I was so sped up that I had to just like put myself under, essentially, to go to, like, I would just literally like sedate myself to go to sleep, and then rinse and repeat. I mean, but like with all of that, it was just pure function. I mean, but I always like to say that it was like every decision was just like slightly to the left, like of off center, and on a long enough timeline, you're pretty fucking far left.
And you don't mean politically.
I don't mean politically. Then like the last 3 months was when I started gambling, online gambling, and that was the beginning of the end, because of the financial impact. That was when my friends started noticing, because I did really well at first.
What were you playing?
And
Just slots or card games or what?
slots. So this is this is going to be the next frontier in addiction treatment and addiction in general is online gambling. I didn't really get into sports betting, but I was doing like they have like in-house games like Plinko and like roulette, just weird little computer gambling games, and then just online slots.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just like the total equivalent of all the weird drugs you're doing. It's the weird
Yes.
gambling equivalent of all the weird substances you're taking.
Yep.
I'm
And
on
having it
I'm
like,
on bromethylene and Plinko.
yeah, dude, basically.
Yeah.
And it got, and because of the things I was on, I mean, so, you know, then I'm tweaking like on gambling, and then I'm gambling money I don't have because I'm in a blackout and I'm waking up, and then like because of the gambler's fallacy, thinking that the only way out of this gambling debt is to hit big and rinse and repeat, and then it's just like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 and then, you know, just, and still trying to work and live, and I mean, just nightmare. And finally, what had like brought it to a head was I was like super broke, and then I remember I won like $4,100 on a weekend, and so I went from like, we can't spend any money, to I was like, let's go shopping and like all this dumb shit, and we got in a big fight, and she was basically like, I don't know what's going on, but I know something is going on. And so I told her, and
You told her what?
told her that I was gambling and that I couldn't stop and needed to go somewhere. And then the next day, told her more of the full extent. And I think she was kind of in shock at first. And so I got into this treatment center, and
That's when you called me. Right
Yep.
around that.
that's what I called you. Yeah. Because I didn't know what treatment I was gonna be able to go to, or yada, what I should do. I think I was still like not sure if I wanted to locally like get honest, which is so ironic.
Natural.
Still, like,
it's like you were still trying to keep everything undercover so you could really run your own show. Even if you didn't do it
Yeah.
like like that wasn't your intention. That's the intention to keep it moving, like, so you don't have to fucking. It's scary to give everything up, and it's scary to start over, and it's scary to face the light of day, and all these chemicals are actually doing something for you.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, too, like, once again, like, not sure that this is gonna work or whatever. So I find a treatment center. I get this like local-ish. It's a little bit out of town. And it's one where you can have your cell phone there. And I remember the first day I was there, I was still fucked up, and I lost $1,400, and I was so mad at them for letting me keep my phone.
You're like,
I was
what kind of place is this?
What kind of place is this, bro?
I could run this place way better than you. Just so you know, I'm a
Fuck,
fucking
dude.
clinician, man.
I was like, dude, this is literally why I'm here. And yeah,
You're like,
So-
I'm actually the undercover boss, and you guys are fucking busted.
that's basically, dude. So what happened at that place was they gave me so what I brought like some baclofen and Lyrica, so they would know like what I was taking, like in the Indian blister packs, and they held on to it for me. And they were giving me baclofen and gabapentin to detox. And this nurse basically kept, so one of the other clients was on baclofen too. It was a kid I was actually in treatment with in 2014. He's trouble. I knew he was trouble, but I was like, yo, let me get some of your baclofen. And he did, and the nurse there kept giving me baclofen and gabapentin on the slick the whole time. And it really didn't occur to me that I was still high, not detoxed, still under the influence. This time when I was coming off of Sublocade, it was a long, drawn out withdrawal. I don't know what happened there, if I'm just older, my body, but like I started detoxing like August 8th, and like I didn't finish until like recently. I feel like a month ago. I'm still sneezing. But and they give you a pass to go home, like a weekend pass after like 3 weeks. And I remember finding a bunch of Suboxone strips, and I was still peeing hot for Sublocade, so I knew that they wouldn't be able to tell. So I like took Suboxone. So like a month goes by and I get out and I'm still fucking high. And then it's like, oh shit. Like, oh shit. And I'm like made some episodes while I was there. My attitude about the whole thing was so, I was just still high. I was just,
you were just
yes,
like whatever.
blasé.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was when, while I was there, Georgia found out like the extent of she kept finding things out. And she said every time she would find out, it was like a knife in the gut. And so I had completely and utterly annihilated trust in that relationship. And she was like, you can't come home. You got to go to sober living. How's the first time having my daughter come visit me in rehab? Which is just, it was bad. It was really bad. I got out. The sober living house I moved into was horrible. This was like entering just like one of the worst months of my life. Because like I was supposed to be sober. I just got out of rehab. And I go into day treatment. And while I was there, that same guy, this is once again me listening to fucking addicts. He was like, oh, have you tried 7-OH? I was like, nope, but I know about it. I'm on Sublocade. It doesn't matter. He's like, oh, it'll still work. And I was like, fucking thanks, bro. And yeah, I remember just Kratom had just gotten banned in Louisiana, but I remember being like, well, I'll just go ask on the slick. And if they say no, then you know, like, and of course I was like, do y'all have any 7-OH? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay.
So they just they sell it illegally, basically.
Oh, now they're just drug dealers. They give you their cell phone number and you go meet them in the parking lot. It's fucking crazy.
Because they have all this inventory, right?
Yeah.
They banned it, but they have all this inventory. So
yeah, it's. And I remember the day I took that, I went home and it was one of those times when I said, oh no, like, oh no, this is too good. Like I fucked up.
How does the 7-OH feel?
That time, I mean, it was like I took a fucking Roxy or like morphine. I mean, it was like
hit you hard,
hit me hard. But I did it for 2 days. And then I had a 5-day withdrawal. 2 days. 5 days. And such a bad withdrawal that I got in a knockdown, drag-out argument with my counselor. Because I was still in, like, IOP at this place. And, yeah, I was, like, so angry just from, like, the rebound from it. And so then I told my sponsor. And he was like, well, you got to get honest. And so I got honest with him. And they kicked me out. And I was like fucking pissed because I didn't tell him about the nurse thing right then, but I was like, dude, this is kind of y'all's fault. If you really think about it, this is your fault that I got kicked out.
You might as well blame them. You should blame Georgia too, I think.
Sure, yeah.
Why not? That's always good.
God, dude.
It's amazing.
And so then, and I still had, the nurse, when I got out, she gave me she had me meet her at her, she let me go to buy her house and she gave me a whole bottle of baclofen and like 2 blister packs. So I had enough. So then
was she in love? Was she in love with you?
I don't know, dude. She was this old, I don't know. I hope not.
Right.
I don't think so.
So you wind up with all more baclofen.
Yep.
And I mean, it's like how, in what universe does she, do you think she co-signs on the idea that it's medicated assisted treatment?
She did. I mean, she was like, I know, I hate to see y'all suffer and stuff. And that's what I think. That's why I didn't blow her up right away, because like like whatever. I'm sure she was well-meaning, but as my therapist later pointed out, she could very well murder someone. So maybe you
She
need to
almost murdered
fucking.
you.
She almost murdered me.
I
I
mean,
know.
you would have been the whatever it's called, the accomplice to your own murder, obviously.
Sure.
But it was
Yeah.
it was a partnership in destruction.
Yeah.
And so then what happens? So you have all these drugs. You're home, or are you in a different
No, I'm at
IOC?
sober living. I'm still at sober living, but they
Right.
don't. Those drugs don't show up on a drug test.
Right.
And then I go to my doctor just to get a refill. Told him that I just got out of treatment, and he was just running down the list. He was like, "So you need a refill on your Wellbutrin, Pristique, dextroamphetamine, alprazolam?" And I was like, "Yes." And just yes. So I got that, and I was like, "Oh, but I'm just gonna sell this, God, dude." But I took some of the Adderall and took some of the Xanax. Got drug tested the next day at the sober living house. Got kicked out. Moved into a friend's house that just let me stay there. Trying to go to school. Like, don't have a job right now. Fucking did 708. It was just like, I don't know what the hell I was trying to do. Just like, but the underlying thing was I was, being on Lyrica and baclofen and stuff. Like, I was just still so extraordinarily altered in my way of thinking and like my impulse control, and like
You were
just
high.
so
You were high.
I
It's
was
like you were
high.
high, and you were not ready to not be high. It's like it's that simple.
I was high, dude. And I ended up ordering. I found a new online plug, and I ended up ordering a bunch of ketamine and meth, crystal meth, and that showed up. And so then it was like a 3-day period where I was smoking meth, and then I got the bright idea. Because I was like, okay, ketamine is an NMDA antagonist. Lyrica has to do with glutamate. So maybe if I just do a big enough ketamine dose, I can detox myself. I can basically naltrexone myself out of Lyrica. That was my idea. So I did I did the massivest ketamine dose and had this insane out of body where like I traveled through like these different doorways until I like walked up behind this person that was crouched, and I went into them and then realized that I was in my own body. It was like, dude, I like sat there and like I had to make sure I was like in reality. It was it was the only time I like walked to the toilet and flushed it. I was like, what the fuck just happened?
You went to like the spirit zone, and you returned to your body.
Pure like astrally projected.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, did not work. Still did Lyrica.
Shocker.
So then I was like, oh well, I need to go detox somewhere. So I found this hospital that does a 3-day detox where they just give you IV Ativan. So I just go there. That was my bright idea. I'm gonna go
That sounds
there.
really good. It feels like I could use that kind of a vacation right about now.
Yes, dude.
Just to get over your story. I feel like
And it was free. It was insane.
Yeah,
it was insane. Yeah. So I just go to this hospital and just get shot up with Ativan. And then on Sunday, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. And so I just checked myself out, and then Monday morning I wake up in the most insane panic attack, because like then I'm detoxing off of the Ativan, and so I panic and I call all my friends. I'm like, I need to go somewhere, but now I can't. Now I'm in school and I can't lose that. Just these dumb fucking things. And they're like, well, go to this treatment center. So I checked myself into this treatment center. And it was like a straight jail. It was so shitty. And I was like, sorry. Like, I woke up the next morning and I was like, you know what? Fuck this. And I just got in my truck and left. So it was like, I told everyone I was going to treatment again. Then I had to call him and be like I called my friend and he was like, Jed, why are you calling me from your phone? And I was like, listen, I know how this looks, blah, 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 blah. And I called a friend that owns a sober living house. And I was like, that's what I'll do. I'll just move into this sober living house. And so moved in there for 2 days and then I start detoxing off of 708s like bad. And so the one thing that the treatment center that the nurse had sent me to, or the one where the nurse was giving me drugs, they had set me up with this therapist and I had this appointment and I was not going to go. I was like, I'm not going to that appointment. Fuck that. And for some reason I was like, just go. And I went, and this was another moment where she was like, tell me what's going on. And I was like, and I said this thing that terrified her where I was like, you don't know. I was like, I don't think people understand. And this is a true statement. They don't understand how good it feels to finally relent to the fucking demon screaming at you to go get high, to finally just give in and say, fine, let's go get fucking high. Like how good that feels and how awful it is when your body, especially with 7-OH and kratom and stuff, like it's indescribably difficult to defeat. And when you finally just say like, fine, like we'll go, like how good that, I said that and she goes, I think you should go to rehab like today. And I was
Right.
like, okay, okay, that sounds good.
Well, you went to that therapist appointment hoping that that was going to be the outcome. That there was this piece of you that was just like, please, like there's a part of you that was just like, let's fuck, because you had surrendered to using for a long stretch, deep surrender. You were like, fuck it, I'm in. Every turn, it was deeper, deeper, deeper. And there was a piece of you that was like, somebody might be able to help us here.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, thank God. And the treatment center they sent me to was like right smack dab in the middle of Lafayette. And the counselor I got one more good one in me. So I was my my intake paperwork, the client affect, excessively verbose, because I was just like, I was like, yep, 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 yep. I opened up to her like she was Barbara Walters. My counselor was a man I've known, Peter B. Dude, this will be like the third time he's helped save my life, man. He's known me for 20 years. He was at my hospital bed when I was in a coma. Like, this dude has known me. And I wound up on his caseload, and he was hard as fuck on me in the best way. It took me, I mean, 17 days. I mean, the older this is also the progressive part of like, it took me such a long time to shake back physically, mentally, spiritually. But I do remember just that moment that I was hoping so much would happen to where I was like, oh, there I am. Like, oh man, this is nice. Like I like, this is like recovery and sobriety, and like, this is nice. It was, having the visitation there, for whatever reason, Georgia gave me another chance, with heavy stipulations of, I mean, dude, especially after just saying and I remember telling someone about the relationship while I was in treatment, and I was like, man, saying all that out loud, like, holy shit. Like, I put her through so much.
And yourself, though. You put
Yeah,
put her,
yeah,
you,
yeah.
yourself, your family, and it's like it's like I said, it's like I didn't get sober until my kid was 5. You know what I mean? Like I didn't get
Yeah.
sober till she was 5, man. And I know that it was the fear and the pain and the calamity of not being there, like, was the only thing that made me really see myself. And like, and
Yeah.
like that very horrible phrase, "I wish you a long and slow recovery." Like I wish you I'm so happy you could see that fear and pain, because I think that's a real great motivator.
It was. And it was, I needed, it's getting sober as a youth, was just like, as Janine said it, like just playing paintball with the boys and just, being young and sober living house. And no, this was uh do your best to clean up the wreckage of your past. And like, you're in debt, you can't live at home, you're, at first there's no trust, and there shouldn't be any trust, and you're in sober living, and just, work for this. And that's what it's been. But it's been great. I mean, it really has been great. I feel more, I'm about to make 4 months on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, it seems simultaneously much longer and much shorter, but
Doesn't matter.
um
It's just like
yeah.
there's just keep going, and like and show up for everything. You know what I mean? And make that the and just don't I mean like the only thing I can really say is don't fucking take any chemicals.
No.
Just like and try not to talk anybody into anything, because you're too fucking smart and too fucking
Oh man.
knowledgeable.
No, I've got that healthy fear again, to where like when I got sick, like I didn't even want to take Dayquil. I'm just like, dude, I'm yeah, at least for today, I'm pretty thoroughly convinced of my inability to really just mess with anything. That, I mean, that's just, I'm fucking the real deal Holyfield of any little thing that alters my mood, I'm gonna chase after. And
Well,
I
you
just
did it.
can't.
You proved it, and you just divulged. You went after shit that no one's ever gone after on this show, and you did it with serious gusto and thoroughness. We
Yeah.
talk about being rigorous and thorough, and you did every fucking off-brand weirdo fucking chemical. Like Cormac is probably losing his mind going through every chemical that you just went through, and it's like, and now it's time to like do the exact same thing with just because also you have this great foundation of spirituality and connection to
Yeah.
to something bigger, and like was that gone when you were in the throes?
Yeah, I remember one of the first mornings that instead of hitting my knees, I reached for my pills. And I remember it. And that was when I was like, yeah, this is if it hadn't yet, the stopwatch has started, and it's the countdown now to when this is going to end badly. And I remember I mean, just the God moments in treatment of, so fun. I mean, it's like my desperate, whenever I finally get to that low place, and my desperate, snotty, angry cries for help to God are always answered, but it's never on my timeline. But it's wild to look back and see every weird little thing and I'm always in treatment with the exact people I'm supposed to be in treatment with. The sober living house I'm in is with that sponsor I was talking about, because I left that out, but he went back out after 15 years. We ended up using together. I ripped him off. He bought some Xanax from me, and I fucking threw in 3 Buspar thinking he wouldn't notice, and we can laugh about that today, but good God, dude, just like, what the fuck? Uh,
That's what we do, man. That's
that's
what
what
we
we
do.
do.
And like I mean, honestly, you're in a better position than you've ever been to help somebody else. You're in a better position than you've ever been to be who you're meant to be. And like, nothing happens by accident, they say. So it's like we trudge on, and like I'm sorry it took so long to do this, but that probably wasn't an accident either. So
No, I don't think so at all. And yeah, that's kind of my, current future where I'm feeling like led to is like giving people in, because it's a very similar parallel to like pastors getting caught in cheating scandals and stuff. And I've been talking to a lot of people about that, to where like these people in these positions that feel like they don't have anyone to turn to, and people, therapists, and these people that are, healing the healers, like helping the helpers, the people, because often, a lot of the good ones deal with this stuff too. And if you don't have somewhere you can turn without this fear of losing everything, then like you're doomed. So that's kind of, I don't know what even that looks like in the future or what's happening, but I do know like I'm taking a break from the field, finishing school, just working at a coffee shop again, just kind of being a person among people, and just a worker among workers, and a dad, and showing up. And
you doing meetings?
oh, dude, yeah, like a lot. Yeah, I
Does
was
your
doing
coffee
a
shop have a
couple a
windmill?
day.
Is there a windmill on the coffee shop logo? I'm just out of curiosity. Because you
Yep.
drank, I was like, "What kind of shirt is that?" And then you picked up the drink, and it had the same logo. And I didn't want to interrupt you, but um, dude,
Yep.
I'm very happy. Like, I'm very happy you're here. I'm very happy you're in your kid's life, and Georgia is
Mm-hmm.
taking a flyer on this thing, and just fucking make it. Just all it comes down to, as annoying as it is you do the next right thing. You fucking help another person. You do your praying. You do your meditating. You go to meetings. You don't use, and everybody benefits, and especially you. And you write your
It's so
book.
true.
You write your book. You know,
Yep.
and I,
Yep.
I love you, and I have your back, and whatever I can ever do, that I'll do it.
I love you too, man. And you get, without, that's the other thing too, is having you and Suki and Janine as like objective third parties that I could get honest with when I was able to, was so, if I didn't have anyone, it wouldn't have. So I love you too, and I thank you, and this has been a pretty awesome ride that we've been on, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it's gonna keep going, man.
Dude, it's gonna go as long as you and I keep doing like the right thing and don't fucking take anything. It's gonna go to great places, And then if we do take anything, it will go to not great places. I mean, it's just it's this as well as I do, better than I do. It's like when we add spiritual principles to our life improves. When we add all the stuff, hobbies, like endorphin providing stuff, like there's a guy at my meeting, he says you can't do wrong and expect to feel right. So it's like
Ooh,
the more good shit we add, it's just very obvious. It's just we're
yeah,
fucking we don't we want to get away with whatever we can get away with, but
I
whatever good
know.
shit we can add is going to make everybody better. And that's it.
Yeah.
All
Period.
right. All right. Well, I love you and I thank
I
you.
love you
And that was
too.
a fucking epic journey into Jed.
Listen to Church and Other Drugs.
Listen
Also,
to church and other drugs all day. And there'll be links and bios and pictures and love. And thank you, Jed.
no problem.